This is Synced Vibes, a platform dedicated to music discovery, where we connect with the artists we believe in, giving them the spotlight they deserve. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right, first of all, thank you guys so much for pulling up. Appreciate that. Today, the goal is to figure out who you guys are as people, artists, individuals, and see how you feel about the world and things around you, all right? Go. All right, first, tell us your names and what they mean or how'd you get them.
My name is Promise. That's my middle name. It's given to me. I just choose to use it as a notable name, I guess, in Atlanta. Because I originally went by Satch when I was down here. It was just a nickname for production, but I chose to use something more closer to me, something more familiar for folks to share with me. So.
Gotcha. How long have you been going by that?
By Promise?
Yeah.
Since a kid, as far as like just in the crib. But as far as music, probably 2018, 2019.
Okay. You?
I actually was listening to the Fugees. Hey Mona Lisa, and he was like, Chebba, y'all. Well, I'm a Libra, y'all. And I was like, Chebba. I don't know. Somebody just stuck with me, so I was like, Chebba. So a long time I had like Instagram names like Sheba Kai, like King Kai or something like that, So then one day I was just like, let me just take the Kai or whatever the surname is after, and I just made it Chebba. So yeah.
Dope. So what about your group name? Break that down for us.
I came up with that. It's an acronym for Take a Look, It's in the Book, because he's a real wordsmith. I know people throw that word around, and not to say that people who deem themselves as wordsmiths aren't, but I just felt like we needed a name if we was gonna culminate as a group, something real necessary towards his writing style. Growing up, I was a fan of Read Rainbow, so I was like, I need both a name that stands out and a name that can represent one person, even though it's two people. So like The Weeknd sounds like a group, but he one person, or somebody would have a the in their name. Like I said, to a group, I want to do the opposite, to where it sounds like one, but it's a group. So ALIIA B just sounded like a unisex name that could be kind of anybody on the street, mixed in with the acronym for Take a Look, It's in the Book. So I felt like it just fit the brand.
Gotcha. Did the acronym come first, or did the actual Take a Look in the Book come first?
I probably at the same time. Like when I said Take a Look, It's in the Book, I probably just squeezed it in my head and was like, okay, this is it's a coherent acronym at the same time.
Sorry. So what do you guys call home?
You said what do I call home?
Yeah, what do you guys call home?
The south side of Atlanta is my home. I've been here just over a decade. I come from Philadelphia. But honestly, anywhere where my people are at, to be, in the general sense, because usually I spread back home to like Philadelphia, where my birthplace is New York. So anytime I'm in one of those areas, anytime I'm just in Riverdale and Jonesboro, I consider it, my place to stay, my home.
Gotcha. But we got roots here, so you call this your home for now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I was born and raised in the South, so I've basically been in the South my whole life, South Atlanta. So that's my home, like Henry County. I mean, my heart is what my home is. So whoever I'm connected to, whoever's in my heart, what I'm saying, that's where I feel like if I lay my feet there, what I'm saying, I feel like that's home. So yeah.
What are your clearest childhood memories?
Clearest childhood memories. Being in the projects, McDonough, Georgia, Henry County. My whole mama side of the family lived in the project, so my auntie was right here, my grandma right here, and I had auntie to stay with my grandma. Across the street, we had the ice cream lady, her name was Spanky. Best ice cream to this day. It was like the projects used to have like a lot of kids in the projects, and I was a kid, so we had a playground, so I remember we'd run to the playground. They never cut the grass, so everybody gets to the playground. Then there was a whole moment where everybody had to scratch their legs, because I done ran through 5 feet grass, you know what I'm saying, so. But I would say that that's one. I can say really the earliest childhood memory, or I'm gonna do two. I'm just do two. One I could say is the moment. This is far out in a sense, but I feel like it's the moment I came into consciousness, because I just remember the earliest memory I have is literally just laying on the floor, and then somebody came up to me like, "Yo, Dez, what you doing?" And then I just got up and I was like at a wedding or something like that, and it's like life started from there. But the other one I would say is is related to this. I would say being 4 years old, my mother and father, they would leave early in the morning to go to work. They got me a radio when I was like 4 years old. I don't know why, but I was scared of the dark, so I couldn't leave the room. I had to just sit there on the bed, but I was awake, so I just sit there and listen to the radio till daylight and go in my grandma's room. But Neo So Sick would come on like 10 times a day, so I just like had that song. It's just ingrained into my being, you know what I'm saying? Because every morning I'm looking at this little black radio, don't even know how to work it really, just like, you know, so not even talking, just up in the morning, you know, so I would say that, yeah.
That doesn't suffer my childhood.
Right. I mean, I was 4 when I was listening to it, definitely. So, you know, it was definitely 4 with the radio, so.
Definitely. What about you?
Probably, so growing up in Philadelphia, and I was in like a town outside of Philadelphia called Northtown. I definitely remember block parties, like a whole lot of, because we usually was the one to petition them. We just had to get the most of the block to sign off on it, send it through. Most times we didn't even really do that. We just pulled the table out, pulled some music out, and the other neighbors would follow through. But that's probably my clearest memories, like, because it didn't even have to be summer. As long as the weather was good, it could be spring, it could be fall, before school, when school was about to start up, like towards Labor Day. And a routine of being outside by the time I come back in, 106 in Park probably coming on, or like the top 10 countdown. Mom would be cooking, and we sat in the table, and that's like, that was the routine, whether, like I said, whether it's summer, whether it's school days. Think about what you're about to do about your day, who the homies you about to call, 106 in Park, dinner, or culmination of different music channels like VH1 Soul, MTV Jams, all those. But those definitely my clearest memories as far as a kid goes, just being surrounded by friends, food, family, music.
Dope. Talk about your school experiences.
I went to school up north until my senior year. So I graduated at Lovejoy down here in 2013, and then took 2 years off, went to Atlanta Tech, but learned nothing from over there. So I spent like a year and a half over there. I'm about to enroll to SAE, hopefully by the top of next year for music business.
Okay.
That's that or Clayton State, but I'm mostly looking at SAE right now.
Got you. What did you major at Atlanta Tech?
Went for healthcare science for surgical technology, like cleaning up, breaking down like operation rooms. Mm-hmm. But they was losing accreditation. So I switched to computer science, which is something I'm probably best at, which I should have did the first time. But again, like they ain't had a nuts and bolts, tighten in place how they should. So I was like, I ain't about to keep on wasting money over here.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna just fall back, figure it out.
Got you. When you say up north, you went to school for the most part. Was that New York or Philly?
Philly.
Well, what's the difference between Philly schools and Atlanta schools, if you could say?
Well, I've only, as far as public school, I only went to one down here, so I don't even know the whole gist of how the public schools is down here, but everything was kind of squeezed. Like I took language classes up north and different electives. Like I thought, I thought we was not worse off, but I thought the schools up there, that they were definitely, the ones I went to were definitely like nowhere near like top list. The one I went down here, made me retrospectively grateful for the electives and things that I was learning up there.
Gotcha.
Down here they were just like, we just got science, like just general science.
Okay.
It's no XYZ. I took German for 3 years. They was like, cool, nothing we could do with that.
That's crazy.
So I had like more credits than I needed to graduate, but it kind of down here they break it down to what's it called, the graduation test. It's some sort of
they got SATs.
No, not even. It's like it was some sort of like just if you don't pass this test, you're not graduating.
No matter how your grades were?
Yeah, because before that, the student did like a strike at the Dome or something, or like a walk-in type of a protest on just getting rid of that test. Not because of its unfairness, just because like this is not what our rubrics pointed towards. They pointed towards everything else.
Might have been that.
And then then you got this test at the end that we only really cram in your head probably like the last month or so.
That's wild. So it doesn't matter how good you do in school if you flunk that test or get a bad grade. Does that reflect in your college? Do you know, or is it not? It's just high school.
My senior year, I was aware academically, but I was just floating.
Gotcha.
I was just like, I'm not even gonna try to make a friend that's gonna graduate, move to like another state or something.
Okay.
Just be here, find out as far as like the music scene and people that's around my neighborhood. But outside of that, I was just like, let me just get my paper and go.
Gotcha. Because only a year is not much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. What about you? How was school for you?
Elementary, my mother worked, she was a cafeteria lady, so I was basically sheltered as a child. So, I mean, each year I had a new set of friends almost to a certain extent. Middle school was the same thing. My cousin was in the cafeteria. I always had connections like in the school system, so I was pretty sheltered. I mean, I didn't really get unsheltered till like high school. That's when I really came out the shell because I have really no family, but nobody in the structure, you know what I'm saying? So I was just there. I mean, I didn't really do much in school. I did stuff more like middle school. I did like they had the hawk helpers. So whenever special guests would come, we would like escort them to their places, stuff like that. So I was interested in stuff like that. High school, I really didn't do anything until 12th grade. You know what I'm saying? I did like one day a drama club. I went to art club the last semester of 12th grade. In 12th grade in particular, I had started making music. So not really to put out to nobody, just, for myself, I was experimenting. Like, I felt like I wanted to make music, but then people would come to me after I put out my first song, like, oh, I like that song. So I was like, oh, I feel like I can, do something with that, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, at school, I was mostly focused on movies. Like, I was a movie fanatic from a child. My family, like, they knew that, even to this day, they're like, oh, well, what happened to the movie thing? All that type of stuff. So I'm like, I still have the vision, you know what I'm saying? So, music just sort of got in the way of that in a sense, but I definitely, all through school was either, like, I remember in first grade, I wanted to write a book. So I was like, I wrote 2 notebook sheets of paper and gave it to my teacher. And, I was like, I wrote a book, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, but for the most part at school, I was just pretty laid back, like, really the same way I am now. Like, I've always had friends. I've never really been, it wasn't really hostile for me. Or I wasn't hostile to people in a sense, but, it was humble for me. I have a humble family, humble beginning. So through school, I just had discernment until I graduated, you know what I'm saying?
Dope. So how did your lives in the home and outside the home push you towards music?
I say I grew up in a family that loved music. There's always like pieces of my family that's involved in music, but that never pushed me towards music necessarily. It was just a part of the culture of things that surround you every day, wanting to be involved. I feel like it's the same with like sports. Like you play outside so many times with sports with friends or through school that's usually the direction it heads towards. Like I said, being outside from a block party or being outside from skateboarding or playing basketball where you're surrounded by music, then you go home and on your TV there's music, or in the radio there's music. If somebody's cooking, there's music or something. So I feel like by the time I hit like my early teens, I feel like it just something instilled in me that this would be the time that I would get, further involved. I started to see programs for like dolls to build music with, started getting more familiar with people who wrote raps, things like that. So I feel like around like 13, 14 was my time, at least for me, to set into making music on my own.
So experimenting at that time. Definitely.
My family is musical anyway. Like, my family is church oriented. Like, most of my sisters and brothers are ministers. My father is a minister. He was in a band in the 70s. It didn't I guess last that long. But he plays instruments. He's always walking around the house singing. My grandma, she lived till she was 101, but she's known for just, humming, walking around humming, stuff like that. My mother, she definitely is like the essence of like the musical spirit. Like she would like play games. Like we had a family get together. She'd be like, anytime, somebody could find a song reference to fit their conversation, they would like sing the song instead of, saying the actual words. It became like a joke. She also was a comedian, you know what I'm saying? So she would literally make jokes, like create jokes. So I incorporate that satireness, I feel, into the art. Like I said, my family is musical. Most of our family reunions consist of all my cousins playing instruments, like we would go to my grandma's house, big field, musicians, whoever, just hop on the drums, whatever they playing, everybody just around, got music playing, so it's really church oriented, you know what I'm saying? And church itself is musical anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely have early memories of like the CD era, like really listening to CDs. My father always looks at those PBS, programs where they trying to sell the CDs and they like playing the live performances, you know what I'm saying? So I would grow up, wake up, he watching that or they watching that or something like that. My mother, she would stay, she loved musicals actually. She liked, she was into that. Like she was into like a fairy tale sort of thing. Like she loved the underdog, she loved the emotional story, you know what I'm saying? So, movies like Sister Act got played a lot, you know what I'm saying? Movies like just musical type. I mean, I caught myself watching like old movies like, I don't know, Three Men in a Bear or something, so stuff like that, So it's always been just musically entwined into me. I never really wanted to do music at all. Like I really was against it because it was so in my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I go to church, music. By the time I left the church, I actually was about to start trying to play bass for the church, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't want to be caught up in that. Even in middle school, I mean, there was a phase my father pushed me like, oh, you should join the band. But, at the time I didn't feel like, I wasn't interested in music. I wasn't really hearing music. I didn't have a phone or headphones and nothing like that. But, I like music. So that was that phase. I never did that. Music, I mean, so really that influenced it. By the time I got to that certain age, I just feel like in the high school, I felt like I just started falling in love with music. Like I met my friend Keontae. I'm gonna say this on record because Keontae is influential to me musically because we would be in the classroom bumping music in the film class and they had them 5 speakers in there. And me, I had musical taste, but he had musical taste. So like he put me on to like just different sounds. And like through that, I was like, dang, I really want to like, create that for myself, you know what I'm saying? So I would say that, yeah. Like I said.
And shout out to Keo too, because he the reason why we even
Keo
made
is
together.
The whole connection, like, I forgot exactly how that happened, like what the conversation was, the interaction, but Keo, man, like.
I met him at the skate park.
Right.
So I know that was your man's, but he kept coming to me saying, hey, I got cause for 2 years I would spin music at Riverdale Church Street skate park, just on just the corner piece, had my amp, had my SP, and just spin music all day. Some days I bring video games out there just so folks can do tournaments if they're not skating. Just bringing a chunk of block party culture to a spot that had potential for it.
Definitely.
And certain days I catch him and he'd just be like, hey man, I got somebody that's on the south side. He makes music. I went to school with him. Y'all need to link. And I'm anytime somebody brings that to me, I'm like, I'd love to, especially coming, if it's from somebody I trust, of their taste. So eventually me and him linked in my crib and started from there.
How long ago was that?
2019? Yeah, 2019.
Dope.
December, November.
Not too long ago, but that's dope though.
Yeah.
You guys built a strong bond since then.
Mm-hmm.
Fire. So when did hip hop get into your lives individually? Like how did that happen?
Since birth.
Since birth?
Yeah.
Since birth, I mean, it's like...
You being a pastor's kid, like hip hop wasn't excluded from your life, it was still...
It wasn't excluded. I mean, being in a Christian family, I mean, like my mother was always into everything. So I always got everything. Anyway, my father was a little bit more conservative. So, there was phases like, oh, you need to start watching that 106 in Park. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to go study or something like that, but, what was the question you just asked?
Yeah, how did hip hop get into your lives?
So yeah, I mean, it's really been there the whole time. I can say that I wasn't into deep like hip hop, like until I got sort of away from having music, given to me, like when I had possession of my own ability to listen to music. But I would say that there was an experience in high school where I heard the first Wu-Tang album for the first time. Like really heard it. Like I knew Wu-Tang, I heard like songs, At that point in my life, I was more like, hip hop was just more generalized in a sense. I had not really become the full-blown, student, at least in that realm. You know what I'm saying? I always studied music or whatever at that time, but I heard that and I was just like, oh, like that truly awakened my hip hop spirit. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like, if anything, like I'm a child of Wu-Tang or that, scene or level of rap. So
Got you. So you said since birth, that's
grew up born in the Bronx. Okay. Family was just musically in tune. Radio was always on. My parents was relatively young, like the 18, 19 range. So they wasn't too far off from the now of what music was. Because I have a sister that's a year older than me, but same with her. Like we just got the culture basically like just thrown at us, if it makes sense. It was always around us, whether it was outside or in the home. It was never discouraged between us. And CD books, like we grew up around a lot of folks that carry CD books. So being able to have that experience to choose music of your own, whether it be from what the cover of the CD looked like or not being shied away from the albums themselves, because music on TV can only show the most polished, the ones that are considered the singles. But when you listen to an album itself, you get the whole experience of the artist, what they're giving, to you. So I got a chance to experience that for my own taste as a young kid, to be able to digest music, in the way I do now. But yeah, never not a chance in my life where it's hip hop not around.
Got you.
I do want to say, I do forget that me and my nephew, who's older than me, like by 3 years, I definitely just forgot that like Wayne existed. You know what I'm saying? So like throughout my childhood, I can say that Wayne is like, since the childhood, Wayne has been like a hero in that sense. Like that was really like the first person that made me aware of bars and like, wordplay, you know what I'm saying? So, he was like an iconic figure growing up. Like we had the PSP, we had the full No Ceilings tape on the PSP, so I just want to put that in there like that.
Definitely,
just to add that.
Wayne's a big part, I think, everybody's life growing up for the last, I think, almost 20 years, damn near. So I'm saying, like, he mixed both. He mixed real hip-hop bars with being mainstream at the same time. So he did a good job of doing that, for sure. So when you guys decided to start making music, because people listen to me, I listen to music all day long, but making music is not something I ever thought about doing. When did you guys start making music?
I had a dial-up computer, like the family, family computer type joint. Everybody took turns on, and mostly nobody's really on it all day. Like we never really had that household. So I don't know if it was through my own research or somebody had put me onto it, but I know when I first started, I was using Mixcraft and Audacity to record. But it was the original inspiration was to skate to music that I made because I was skateboarding heavy around that time. Music's a big part of the skateboard culture, and it was in the midst of the blog era. So I felt like me getting into my teens, I just felt more involved rather than just a consumer of the process, or felt like I had the chance to be more involved. So yeah, I just started doing my own studies, my own journey on what it took to get a song, you know, in fruition. And by a couple months, I remember vividly like skating to my own demos and showing friends. And as far as like my skateboard group, I was one of the first to just consider doing music. It wasn't a thing around my town to have to, you know, mix music with skating. It's either you were skating and worried about like sponsor tapes, or your shop messing with you, or you was rapping, because Philadelphia has a very big rap culture where they rap for sport. They don't necessarily just rap for notoriety. They're usually in other things and just so happen to rap really well. But I just wanted to take it that push forward to bring myself into that realm. I never really had to feel like I needed a character to rap. Even mostly in Philly, like you have a nickname, but you're you as you on the camera, like the early like Meek Mill clips, to be general. Like that was just him on the corner, just rapping, just, you know, whatever, however he wrote it, however he had to come out. That was just the essence of what Philadelphia was. So I wanted my stamp sort of in my nature with that to make sense with my involvements with skateboarding and the people I was around, and yeah, getting that vibe in.
For sure. What the vibe I'm getting from you guys right now is that you guys self-started into music. It was your own type of thing. So there were no mentors that helped you usher you into that, or you just picked it up one day, just started? There
were people in my life that encouraged themselves, and I've seen that. Like my uncle stayed with us for a long time. He taught me how to press tapes, not by necessarily saying like this is what you do, but he would never be in the basement and just be like, oh, go upstairs, or he'd never be in the studios with other folks and be like, go upstairs while he's recording music. That's usually where I could see his process and see the CDs of like just beat tapes, or see his demo CDs, see his demo cassettes. So I was never unfamiliar by the time I started making music with things like that, because I would always just be a sponge. I never ask too many questions. I just see it and apply it later.
Got you.
I basically self-started myself because most things in my life, I'm more of a laid-back person anyway. So most things I have done in life have just been me observing life and like, okay, I want to do that. You know, like the dude in the corner that's just, you know, aspiring. You know, my sister's husband, he actually used to do music back in the day when they first started like dating. I was like a child, and I think he may have had some connections to like Stankonia back in like his early college days or something. But he used to do music back then. They was, you know, my sister, you know, all my brothers and sisters sing in the church, you know, stuff like that. She was dating. I just remember they took me to a studio session. Like I was probably maybe like 12 or something. They want me to sing on the song, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I did that. That particular experience was good because, you know, it was like my first studio experience, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, from that day on, I was like, oh, okay, you know, I think I like making music. I just didn't want to do it because I was more laid back in my shit. I just want to do it for myself. Like, I'd rather make it than show it after it's already complete, you know, the full product. As far as just starting music, I definitely started in 12th grade. Well, I really started it like in 11th grade, but in 12th grade, I started, I didn't really know how to make music. So I was like, you know, I was just completely blank. I'm like, how do I even start doing this? So I went to the Play Store. I'm like, okay, Music Maker, you know what I'm saying? So I found the Music Maker Jam app, and, you know, it basically had loops and, you know, different genres, and you can like put the loops together and change the keys. So with that, I learned how to, you know, layer a song, how a song is layered. With that, you know, I just got like, I'm like, okay, I didn't feel legit. I'm like, I'm using other people's played instruments and sounds, you know, and I was putting them on SoundCloud way back, but I didn't really take it seriously then. I was like, you know, people can listen to it, and there were people that were like, oh, I'm a fan, but I'm like, you're a fan of these loops I don't put together on this little contraption. So I was like, okay, I need to learn how to record myself, but I had no studio equipment or no mics or nothing. So for a long time, I was just getting my headphones. I didn't have headphones at first. I used to get my phone. I had the little keyboard. I would sit on the keyboard and then I would put a pillow over it so I don't get no ambiance. Then I would just play, do the drum sounds. And well, at first I used to do it on headphones, and it didn't sound as, it sound like a mic, away from a drum. So then I was like, what if I put the phone speaker to the actual thing, you know what I'm saying? And that's recording from like the actual thing almost in a certain extent. So it actually sounded, the instrument sounded professional, but the drums still didn't. So I had to like just keep evolving. So with that though, I ended up making my first song, which was actually a singing song. And it was actually very horribly produced. And I did that with a combination of BandLab and FL Studio, because I downloaded FL Studio to try to create drums. That's what I remember. Because I was like, I can't keep making these bootlegged drums, you know what I'm saying? So downloaded that, started using that, made a little simple drum beat, and I like recorded these horrible guitar chords. I put it on SoundCloud. And then that next day, some girl had walked out. She was like, oh, I heard your song, I like it. And so yeah.
Definitely. So that sounds really resourceful. Like that you used what you had, you didn't make any excuses. Like I got this, I'm gonna use whatever I can to get started, stuff like that. But what programs do you use right now?
I've really been using my phone ever since. BandLab has just upgraded over and over. I have used GarageBand, FL Studio. I was using FL Studio at first, like for a long time, making like beats in there. But I was really inspired by the 70s. So I'm like, I really want that authentic drum sound, like that looseness. And so I just had to, figure out different ways to execute what I wanted to hear sonically. You know what I'm saying? So now, I basically use BandLab. I haven't really, and I use Koala now to make beats, you know what I'm saying, but I mostly just record though, you know what I'm saying? Like when I record, like I use BandLab. That's pretty much it. I'm really, like, although I've done a lot of work in a lot of ways, I feel like sometimes I don't put as much on it because I have just made it on my phone. It is simple, you know what I'm saying, but, obviously it has an effect though. But, so, it's pretty simple. I use my phone. Sometimes I use my laptop, GarageBand, depending on, the filters in there may suit this better, or I may just want to master the song in there, in the laptop because it's going to come out different, you know what I'm saying, the file or something like that. Plus, I do everything. I didn't really hear any of my songs on speakers until I met Kwani. So it's like, I'm really headphone oriented anyway, you know what I'm saying? Just in my laid back nature, but in the sense of just having headphones and going through those phases of bootlegged sounds, you know what I'm saying? I've learned what quality, I know the ambiances, put it like that, the level, so yeah.
Gotcha. What about you?
After I went from Mixcraft and Audacity, I used FL moving down here. So like from 2012 to like 2017, I used FL Studio. Just spent my time mastering that. When I first started, YouTube was way different. It was more like viral videos and just whatever was thrown up on that site. It wasn't like tutorial based or community set in stone to like teach folks things about music. So it was really just, if not getting resources from other musicians that you meet along the way, it's just figuring it out. So by the time I got FL, I was put on to that by a friend I met down here in Lovejoy. So yeah, I just took my time to figure that I only really use Producer Edition and 11. I've tried the other ones, but those ones were like most comfortable to me at the time. And about 2017, 2018, I took a leap into Ableton and been using that pretty much since. I dabble like Koala, Beatpad, Garage, like anything that's going to produce music, I'll pretty much,
Basically
put hands on to see what I can do with, or see what I learned from the other DAWs to apply in unique ways, because each DAW is kind of different. Yeah. Even using like just little Tascam samplers to culminate like new organic sounds that come out, just put those into the DAW. So, any way to experiment, any way to try to grow into, the level.
Are instruments a part of your process at all?
Yeah. I play bass a lot on a lot of my songs. Same with him, he plays keys, he plays bass, sometimes use like different effects on his voice. I might I might use a shaker, but it's really like rice or seasonings or and a lot of the textures from the vocals he raps with could be like background ambiance. Like we have a song he recorded in front of a school, so you kind of got like, you know, the outside of cars passing or the wind blowing at certain points to just add different textures. But as far as instruments go, yeah, like I said, like whether it be string, whether I bring somebody in to play drums for something specifically to get more fat sound. My homeboy Devin plays trumpet for a lot of songs that I send his way for like demos. So yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So I want to talk about Swiss Army Records and all the different aspects that go into it. Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, I use Swiss Army honestly as a consolation camp for, like I said, independent artists too. No matter what you see your direction, if you the type to want to land a deal one day, or just want to develop as an artist before people of the industry try to develop you in their ways. Because this year will be my 15th year as far as like making music, taking in that direction. So everything that I usually take with me, my self-education or the game that I picked up from others along the way, whether it be older or younger, just or even in a different field, you know, just using that in the same the application of what I'm doing now to help the next person that's next to me. Because also, you know, everybody knows you move better as a team, move better as a village. But if everybody's looking for a label to back them or a label to develop them, I seen there was obviously a lane that was open, you know, like similar like what Barry Gordy did in Motown, as far as not just taking artists, signing them, he was really developing them and having them build relationships with one another, where people living down the street or not too far from away from each other, practicing in basements, practicing in studios. So by the time they do set forth to the direction they do, they're more beyond than ready. So that's usually what I do for the label in that fashion for years, as far as like considering folks putting their own albums on distribution or scouting themselves for like talent scouts, or the people who will be able to have you on appropriate stages, whether it be locally or the state or city next to you. Things that they wouldn't consider at probably a point in time in their music career, or just in general, they wouldn't necessarily just hear from a homie that doesn't want nothing from them. But the label, in a sense, is more so just to put more context behind it for people. Like if I establish it as an entity, especially around music, it'll give more validity to what I'm trying to just spill to them. Because I could just be, you know, promise that everybody just knows that just floats around. Because yeah, I don't normally have the formula as like traditional labels where, like I said, I find an act like Chebba and I'm saying, yo, I want to get you down with paperwork and just throw my ideas on you, and I have a specific vision. Ever since we started, it was more like, hey, have you considered or checking out what he has as a person and seeing anything that that I've learned that it could help magnify what he's trying to get at, or helping other folks be able to see the vision that whether he makes or whether we make is to lead it be, and using those relationships and that Rolodex of people that I know to help further the community. Because anybody that I know that or newly know, I would slowly manifest them, bringing them into the community of people that are like-minded and all have a set vision for themselves and are supportive of the craft in general. And they'll be able to, you know, produce further resources for those people, and vice versa. He might be a great resource for other people who might need like help with their songwriting or just learning the process of that and putting in their own tune. So yeah, it's always the formula, just keeping people close, giving them an idea more possible than they probably thought, or just setting that and also helping them apply it, helping them put the application behind it to actually execute.
Definitely. So you feel like you're an amplifier of talent, basically?
It doesn't even have to be music. Like it could just be life skill in general as a friend. There's a lot of people who are affiliated to Swiss Army who don't necessarily put their music on exhibit for other folks. They might do things around fashion, and I know they produce. I'll still lend them the help or lend them the knowledge that I applied, just so they can have it on their own. But it's just for anybody, you know.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter if you make music or not.
Definitely. So what do you think the underlying quality is, the people that you attract to you, the people that you resource in to be in Swiss Army? What do you think is the underlying quality that they have?
But potential in themselves, because, you know, you can't lead any horse to water that's not going to drink. And I'm not necessarily trying to lead anybody to a specific body of water. I want them to learn how to hear where streams are, and that way it leads to more streams for themselves. And the next person that's next to them, they'll manifest those same type of navigation skills for them, because they seen another person did it not for nothing. And a lot of times it works. A lot of times people just use it for what it is, and maybe I needed to be at that particular point in their life to help them with that, or maybe they need to be in my life for certain things that they put on me that I haven't seen before. But that relationship hasn't necessarily stirred me in any direction that I didn't use for benefit for me and others around me. So, and that's what most folks pretty much know me for. They know me as far as like the fields that I'm in, the music that I make, but more so the relationship that we set, and the help that we were to each other, as opposed to a homie you might have for years, but y'all probably just smoke, or you probably just go to the lounge and watch a game or something. Don't really learn or grow from, or further your involvement with each other for the better benefits outside of what you're doing.
Gotcha. So what do you feel like it could bring to the landscape as a whole in the future? What do you think Swiss Army can do?
I feel like it can be a stepping stone for people to look back at. Hopefully it's still, or because I plan on expanding beyond what I originally even seen the vision to as I grow. But I hopefully have it be a point of reference for a lot of people to appreciate the help that I'll probably be able to, to bring forth to, or the relationships for other people that I've helped bring together, or just liaisons who help bring fruition. Like, for instance, his man's Keo. If I didn't DJ at the park, I would have never met Chebba, because he was in the middle of Morrow. He doesn't skateboard. I wasn't skateboarding at the time, even though I do skateboard, but it was just off of those type of things. And when I'm at the park and telling people the things that I'm doing now and why I'm here, it'll ring in like opportunity and like blessings for myself, but you got to set forth an action and motion to even bring those results. So like, I didn't necessarily manifest a ALIIA be in the future, but whether I met him when we went going to a class together, or whether I met him, through work or something, I feel like it would have been the same result. All you need is that like initial introduction to each other.
Describe to me the intention for starting ALIIA be. What's the intention behind forming that?
You want to answer this one?
I mean, I could say that with Swiss Army, as far as me in my career, like being an artist in school, there were people like, you could say like a Keontae, or just few people that was like, okay, I peep you, I see you make music, like they call me by my actual stage name, so I'm like, oh, I get that. But I didn't really have a musical family, you know what I'm saying? So Swiss Army is like, that was that for me. Like, even at that time, like when we met, I was going through like a spiritual like awakening, you know what I'm saying? So I was cutting people off, and, I was like breaking into, I had to find, and that's what I was, you could say praying for, you know what I'm saying? So, so I mean, I would say that, like anything, it's just a combination of what was already there, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we already making music, you know what I'm saying? So, in my head, it's like, it's just another thing. Like me, I used to do multiple names. Like I put out the Black Boy Hippie mixes, or, sometimes I'll say produced by Chebba or produced by this, just being playful. So I look at it from that aspect too. But at the same time, he showed up with the name. So it's like, I feel like you can explain the origin like in that sense. But
Gotcha.
It's family, you know what I'm saying? That's what it represents for me. You know what I'm saying? Family.
Gotcha. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's really consciousness behind the music without sacrificing the sound. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like there's a stigma on making music that's conscious without having it sound corny. And I never really believed in that, because if a lot of people listen to a lot of music that we didn't deem conscious music that we grew up with, or that, ended up being like evergreen classic songs that we grew up with, those still spread positive messages, like Ode to Hip Hop with Erykah Badu and Common. It's a real simple neo soul type of song, but it's about love, regardless of who you dedicate the song to when you're singing it, or Talib Kweli's The Blast. where, again, sounds like a hip hop record, but it could bring, you know, a lot of peace and confidence into somebody when it's spun, especially if they like caught onto it as a kid or whenever they caught onto it when it at first arose. So I always wanted to have the same effect with music with that. I feel like Chebba was like a really good canvas to work with in his own domain. Like if he's already making music like this, and my intentions with producing for artists that's under the label is to amplify all of their strengths and help you know, diminish any I wouldn't say weaknesses, things that they will also want to strengthen that they probably just didn't have the resource for, or the avenue or the network to help bring that out. I just wanted to, you know, max out all of those when it came to me and Chebba's work.
I mean, it's an open thing. Like it's allowed me, I have not worked with a lot of people just because it's like we're not on the same vibe, same like energy, nothing against the person. It's just, you know, like when I write, I'm coming from a certain aspect. So if I'm gonna hop on a beat, I need to know that this person is accepting of me first, you know what I'm saying? So when I put these words, it's not gonna be like spewed, or they just have to already know what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Be in the know on me, you know what I'm saying? So you know, I feel that openness, you know, within ALIIA B, and really like more so than I felt about any other collaboration, you know what I'm saying? In the sense that because I mean, in a lot of ways, I do make it subconscious, and a lot of times I'll be like, in my head, it really just be him, you know, like, and I be forgetting like, oh, like it's only my words on the song, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but that's just me playing the background in a sense, but that's why, you know, I connect with it, because it allows me to be that character while also giving me the ability, the room to grow, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Gotcha. So I want to talk about the Hall 100 sessions and talk about that series of projects and what each installment differs from the other.
These are a culmination of demos that it took to get to the point of still where we're headed towards. I wanted to go the route of doing a back catalog initially, rather than just dropping project after project and then maybe considering like, oh, we need like a catalog of our best work. I feel like if we were intentional on putting out our best work, but also lay room for what they for more growth. So I've left these as demos. The concept around the name Hallway 100 was like, this is like a fictional academy that the quote unquote character ALIIA B went to at a certain point, and these are just demos of the work that was at that academy. But we did the first 3 installments, which is the culmination of our work that we had released. We just put it out on streaming top of the year. We've been doing them in shows, promoting them, had them on at most as far as streaming, like SoundCloud, Bandcamp, on our own site, landing pages, but not streaming. I had an idea for the label in full, that if we not focus on DSPs and actually focus on getting these in people's hands, getting them in ears, getting them involved, without just the easy avenue of saying, hey, it's on Spotify, it's on Tidal, and then you complain anyway about the payout, rather than just maximizing your efforts on what you could do if there was no streaming. Because I'm very much familiar where the space of people making music when there was no Tidal, no Apple Music or DistroKid to just upload it to. There's nothing bad about having that. I just didn't want it to be diminished and you get spoiled by the that type of formula, and then somebody comes along and teaches you or not even just teaches you, just uses the same avenues they'll try to apply with them to do it anyway, that they didn't see outside of streaming. So now that we have that up, it's more so for the grandiose enjoyment that people can celebrate with us in an easier format. But I'm very physical minded as far as like things should be put on like CD, things should be pressed onto vinyl, things should be put on cassette for fans to if not spend, then just have to be able to still maintain a connection with that artist in general. I got a lot of albums in my collection that were from the 70s, that are still runs today. So why not have your stuff on a format where it could run that long into the future to really have and appreciate and be able to just be passed around, like a book that is already, like, you love the book, but you can see there's annotations in there you didn't make, or anecdotes you didn't make in there. So it's had a journey through other people's hands. Just that same type of format with the music.
There you go. When it's a time where it's so easy just to drop something, you drop 100 songs a day, whatever it is, you want something that's more tangible so you can really hold on to it. So take your time, make a real art, and then hold on to that.
Yeah, because we have more music than what we've put out, but I feel like even in the work we've released, every installment kind of got more
Evolved.
Yeah, more dense, more involved, more songs, longer plays in general, and more thought put into the process of both production and the writing. But again, they were made at different times. All the direction was the same, all the intent and the strengthening was intentional and the same, but each song wasn't made in a okay, this is track 1, okay, this is about to be track 2, and we got this. As far as like lining it up and EPing them in a specific order, that was me taking the songs and really putting an order I feel like fits his palette well, something that he would produce out through to a new audience, and not only my network but both networks we put together and new fans to culminate to one.
Definitely. So like as a group, it's easy to see that you guys are pushing consciousness, right? So like what got you guys into individually? What got you into gaining knowledge and really wanting to culture yourself in that way?
Books,
yeah.
Your elders, people you talk to that give you like unfiltered truths in a lot of different fields. But music's nothing I feel like it's to play with. Like, yeah, you can make a party record. There's nothing wrong with getting some of the folks to dance to, and it's not like it's not black and white. It's not like if we're talking about this, it's not something to dance to. Or if we're doing this, then we can't have a specific type of sound, but more so the consciousness of like, nobody in the label's calling women a bitch. Nobody, we're not talking about lifestyles that nobody isn't living. Well, it doesn't have to be square. Yeah, you're being self-aware. They're saying they're writing things on paper that people can take away from to really self-reflect. It's not like too up and open to where people like, what are you even talking about? And it's something that's palatable for all sides of the field that enjoy music. I feel like we don't really leave any specific people out, because although hip hop is a good staple, it didn't start on like fairground. It didn't start in a vacuum where people where it was all inclusive. It was more so like, and it's when things come from like specific like a plighted situation, it's more so focused on like I feel like it's focused on that and not necessarily like all other avenues outside of that kind of get like blind spotted for a minute till it can cement to what it is. And I don't want to start off on that where I feel like my vision is more important than anybody else's feelings or anybody else's perspectives towards life or towards music. It's not my position to do. So I feel like Act Like Talia B definitely sets a good tone for that, like keeping the groove, keeping the feel, while also keeping the message, and him be able to write something that he can personally grow from after it's already put down in the ether. So
Gotcha. Are there any artists you feel that really taught you that growing up? Were you listening to them?
Taught what in particular?
Like taught you to really keep it authentic, keep the message still there with keeping it, while making good music at the same time.
I feel like our people in general, it's nobody like specific. There's no one artist that I've like looked at. I've always looked at us as like
black artists or
yeah,
just inspirations. I mean, it's specific people like that have inspired me, but like I mean, it really goes to your family too. It's like what your family instills in you, because I mean, I've been in a Christian family, on one side or whatever, and I was raised with certain principles, but simultaneously, as I've grown, I've not been, not directly held back. Like nobody's in my face. I don't have a whole bunch of people, that made me not want to be authentic in me in that sense, so.
Gotcha. What producers or artists you feel taught you the most?
Definitely like a Kanye. I would say, taught me the most. I would say hip hop taught me a lot in the sense of being myself, and because I mean that's the essence of hip hop. It's like some of the earliest hip hop would be considered corny, but it was legit to them because it was legit to them. It's like the whole concept of an MC is like, okay, I'm finna write down my word and I'm finna spit it. You know what I'm saying? It don't even really matter what nobody say in a certain sense. Like, somebody might think it's lame, but it's like, that's not really what I'm writing it for, from the true essence. It's like, you can do there is another level of, okay, trying to impress or something like that. But, but I mean, it's just the different palettes of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, different palettes of life inspire you, and you just see so many different things. I feel like sometimes Black kids get put in a box. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I can't like this. I mean, that was a phase in my high school life where, I didn't really listen to Black music. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, that could be like a mindset of the time of like, okay, trying to disassociate from certain things based on the, stigma that's put on you, or the label, or the characterization that's, you feel like you're supposed to fall into. But even like my mother, like, she always was into other things. So growing up, I was into movies. So, in school, I would bump like orchestra music, you know what I'm saying? Like movie soundtracks. Like, so it just depends on your palette, like what you feed yourself throughout a daily basis. But I can't really narrow it. It's just more so life in general and who I am. You know what I'm saying? Feeds the authenticity.
Got you. What about you?
Sort of same way he said, as far as like, not necessarily pinpoint. There's no one specific person I've meched into, like, the end all be all. Because a lot of times when you're doing your research, you find all sides of the truth. Where it's like, yeah, they did great things, but don't sound like they're great, of a person. But you still get game from people, whether you agree with them or not. You know what I mean? So I usually just play the background, like to absorb all fields. Like, I like to look into the history of some people. You might know them as a executive producer or a super producer, but they might have spent most of their times or their most important years as an A&R. So just looking at like a lot of people's like full journey, because I like to play all positions as far as the label. A lot of times I'm just somebody's A&R. A lot of times I'm a tour manager, in a sense, for people where I'm probably the main person they know to put them on a stage somewhere or get them out of state to make them, have further connections in that way. But all that was just learned from our people in general. I like to look at like interviews from anybody. It could be L.A. Reid, Quincy, Barry Gordy, to people now, like how like Brent Faiyaz and his group is moving in as far as like an independent light, making new waves, or a lot of people of our generation. But a lot of it I see from my knowledge is that it's all life moves in cycles. So a lot of things that even could seem new, it was done in different formulas back then. So the more you're prepared with the history, what we set forth before, it helps you move toward in the future. So it's definitely like our people as a whole.
Simultaneous, just like, we can be inspired by the past, but we also have to have the, drive to want to push things forward. So you should aspire to do things new or do things outside the box, and not be so inspired by the past that you just do what's in the past. You know what I'm saying? It's like keeping the wheel turning or breaking it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's evolve. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm reading a Jay Dilla book. I can say that when I did start making music, I did have the thought, like, the night I decided to make music, I said, okay, like, because at the time I perceived Jay Dilla as like, okay, this is the guy that everybody obviously knows, phenomenal, influential, all that. But at the same time, he's low key, and that like spoke to me as a person. So I was like, so at that particular time, like Jay Dilla and Prince were like the two dualities or sides of the spectrum of like greatness, reclusiveness, you know what I'm saying, and two different sides of the musical spectrum, you know what I'm saying, and they really both evolutionarily like are on the same lineage line, you know what I'm saying, as far as what they provided to music. But I just want to add that.
There you go. So having a creative pursuit, I feel like takes up a lot of time and resources in your life. How do you guys manage relationships with your family, friends, and loved ones? How do you guys do that?
Well, music ain't like 24/7 for me as far as like making it. Like even nowadays, from like 2020, I haven't really been like 5 beats a day, this, that, and the third. Like, I made so much music through the years. You gotta take time to like contextualize all the stuff that you do make and find homes for them. It's where a lot of our latest ALIIA B work came out, where it could have just been a throwaway or sitting on a beat tape promoted elsewhere. But I just had to take the time to, like I said, to just contextualize the work, which gives me time also outside of the creative process to get into different fields of creativity, of what I learned through music or always being present. Like I said, I have a fiance in today's time, so when we was just dating, I still need to always, you know, spend some time to build that, or spend time with the family to make sure I'm not just being a recluse to myself and others, but being present, because all that life and experience that you're absorbing is going to help by the time you get back into music. That, for instance, I don't really experience like writer's block or beat drought, or, you know, any types of drought of creativity, because there's other avenues I could just find fulfillment in, or find where I find myself, like, that's probably where I'm just leaning towards, and I'm forcing a different avenue that not to say there's no love into it, but there's no inspiration behind that at the time. Like, everything kind of has to have conscious or subconscious intent to figure out where you're headed with something, and once it's done, know what to do with it, because you could make something and it could be for practice. But I feel like unless you're making it with something for it to find it a home in any medium, then it's solely probably just for either for you to have for yourself, or it's just practice.
Gotcha. What about you?
Balance. I mean, like I said, I don't make music. What I do, it's really so casual for me that sometimes I forget that I'm making music. It's just, some people go fishing, some people go for a walk. You know what I'm saying? I go for a walk. You know, sometimes I'm just making a beat, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, writing some down or something like that. As far as family, I mean, I'm really a recluse anyway. I mean, since I graduated, really when I was in school. So for me, it's just about, you know, having no judgment on what phase of life I'm in. Like, if I'm not around people right now, then just trying to transmute that into not some sort of horrible judgment on myself. Like, okay, I'm failing here, or, you know, I'm not doing good there. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I definitely speak to my family. Like, I live with my father. I still communicate. Like, I see my friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. Like, life, you know, I be kind of floating in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like me, like, once you know yourself, you know what I'm saying? You know, you're just sort of in the journey. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I understand my main characterisms of life. So, you know, it's like having no judgment, so I can balance my mind more so than being so caught up with what's out here.
Got you. So I want to talk about one of your lyrics where you say on Hall Session Volume 1, you say propaganda cut niggas into sections. Break that down for me.
Well, I mean, it's simple. It's like, you know, we look at the news media and propaganda literally cuts us into sections. Like, you have culture, you have propaganda that feeds certain aspects of the culture. You know what I'm saying? You know, so people get, you know, hijacked into mindsets because they claim this part of the culture or claim that. And ultimately, it's like, you know, a lot of the conversations we talk about are the propaganda. Like, we actually feed the propaganda of division because we continue to have the conversation and not have the conversation about the conversation. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. It's like, whether it be about colorism or, you know, or race, or, you know, these little conversations that come up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's always whether it be, you know, a figurehead of that point, or a news headline, or, you know, an event that happened in life. You know what I'm saying? It's always some propaganda, and people don't really have that awareness to see, like, okay, I'm actually feeding into a division between, you know, whoever the parties are, you know, so yeah.
So they're indulging into the presentation instead of figuring out why they're presenting us in the first place.
Well, people understand the word propaganda, but people don't, like, most times we understand history, but we don't insert ourselves into what other people have already experienced. So it's like, once you understand the history of propaganda, then and what it was used for, then you can understand and have self-awareness. You can understand how you do propaganda. Even like, back in the day, I used to post a lot on Instagram, and it's like, just my thoughts and whatever. But it's like I stopped posting as much because I'm feeding into a certain algorithm of information, whether I'm coming from it genuine or not. It's other people that are coming at it from this aspect or that aspect, and these aspects, like I said, create division ultimately. And here I am, I may be pure in it, but that person, somebody else look at me, I don't fit into this culture, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't even trying to, so.
Where are some outlets or some venues or gatherings that people can find artists like you within Atlanta?
The parks. A lot of us throw our own shows around, like, I know Underground's on the come up yet again. That's like a good pulse for like new venues. I came up in the era as far as like a consumer where department store was big. That's like a venue that's out on Edgewood that had a lot of the early acts blowing up, not necessarily like just through there, but that was like a staple for a lot of good shows and a lot of good acts that eventually would, find their name in the business that they're doing. And that's where you would see them as they're figuring it out. But there was a lot of venues of that style. Atlanta's really transient. It changes a lot because of that. So I always just try to catch myself on to what's the next. Even when it's in the now, I'm still seeing signs of things that come around the corner and talking to the people who hold a home to the places that we throw for venues. I'm very big on finding places that aren't established as a music venue. Like it might be a bookstore that I frequent with, or it might be a clothing boutique. It might be a specific district or park. Because the people will come. If the music's good, if the vibe is set appropriately, people will find themselves, enjoying. Music's something that we can't really run out of or have too much of, because it's a lot of layers that play into it. So I feel like wherever, it's like the home, wherever the music is, it'd be the setter. So we could go to like Piedmont, we can go to like Grant Park, we go to Little 5 Points, we go to places on the south side, you could run in a parking lot. It really doesn't matter the spot, because the block parties usually happen in the middle of a street that's just cut off from both sections. And most times people won't look at a street as a playing field or stage for music and entertainment. But seeing from those avenues, anything could be a stage.
Definitely. So when it's all said and done, what's the legacy you guys want to leave behind?
For like, if I have kids 10 years from now and he has kids, but they both are familiar with not just each other, but their parents' work and friends of their parents' work, in the same way that we revere these artists to know each other in that way. I feel like it's more vivid for them in that sense, because they were also signed acts, newly signed acts, or in New York, so they were very much familiar with each other. But as far as history goes for today, like, we share a lot of the same come-ups, a lot of the same avenues, a lot of the same journeys. And in a cycle sense, we're all the same people, in a sense, just, with a different name and face to it. So I feel like if people are more present of where they are now, where they can be 10, 20 years, not to say they have to be like a full-time artist, but for the things that they're doing now, and the history it was set for 10, 15 years later, that's my main mission. Like, so I want my child to be able to scroll through like a CD rack or an entertainment desk and stumble upon the ALIIA B cover, or stumble upon another homie that through the things we're doing now, we were able to push that in an essence, or a tour shirt, or them being wanted to even get into the business, but they're not holding themselves to the limitations that usually artists or musicians find themselves to, like, okay, I want to do it, but I can't figure it out. I want them to have, the same strengths and resources, not just for my child, but for the people around me, whether they're still doing music or they got family or friends or children that would want to do the same thing. Like, things we're doing now is for the future. So you're not in the new, you're in the know.
Gotcha. What about you, man?
I feel like, legacy-wise, I just feel like I want to, in a sense, put myself up as an example for the future of just somebody that follows their heart, has, I was raised a certain way, so, everybody's raised in their own environments, but just being an example of somebody that just does what they do and believes in themselves, and despite what it looks like, like throwing the judgment off of just your life journey. You know what I'm saying? Like me and my music, a lot of songs I didn't like when Hall 3 came out. I didn't want it to be put out. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't ready for that, honesty to be put out there. Whether someone, perceives it as some deep honesty or not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that idea. It's like, so that's music that's out there that in a sense I'm afraid of, or, I could say at that time I was afraid of, but I still allowed it to be out there, still allowed people to hear it, and just, it's, for me, it's all about judgment. I think in life, the whole point is for your heart to be as light as a feather. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, throw the judgment off of your life. And what I try to exhibit in all media outlets, all aspects, is just the idea of being that example.
Definitely. So let's talk about the vision for the rest of this year. What do you guys have planned? Anything like that?
More shows, more interviews, really getting people familiar with the gears of setting themselves financially, so that way they wouldn't have to look at any other avenues than the path they set for their own. Because up north, it's a real hustle culture, not in a way of like swindling people, but in a way of not waiting on somebody to be able to set yourself financially. So definitely more physicals out, whether it's through artists on the label or collabing with other artists through other labels that we'll do distribution for. As far as ALIIA B, we plan on putting out more work that we're working on now that we're like halfway through finished up with, as well as me and Horace Rye, me executive producing something for him later on through the year. So definitely getting back into more production, being more involved in the process again. And just like I said, setting the foundation for business for each person individually. So that way, because Swiss Army is bigger than me. Like I said, it's just an entity that I hold to keep people familiar, but it's more so about the end result with everybody else. So that's the name of the game this year, is to set everybody at a higher level than not just with what they see for themselves, but for where they can be for themselves.
Definitely. What about you, man?
I think this year is just about letting the light shine. It's like, we already done built the name, people get the concept. Music-wise, I've always just been sort of laid back on it, like, not putting it on streaming or, just putting it on SoundCloud, almost just posting it, just cause, but just trying to get more honed in that sense. And not to say take it more seriously, because I have taken it seriously, but just put more respect on myself, you know what I'm saying, in that sense, and just try to get out these visions that I have, but I, never really execute like that. I'm definitely producing more this year. I'm definitely working with an artist called Aries Full Moon. We definitely got lots of great alternative R&B, like from, personally, I believe it's next level. She's amazing. I've been doing a lot with Free Spody. I don't got a few things in with Il Khalil. I really just been working in-house. I mean, I'm seeing, it's people there are people that's reaching out, from other places. And, I do plan to work with other people. I just be focused, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have had people like, I have pending features or collaborations to do, but it just has to formulate when it formulates. With everybody, it's more so that they're just proximity-wise, they're around me. So even when I first started making music, that was an issue like of just nobody being in the vicinity, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know who to communicate with. But so I think it's we definitely doing a project, and it's definitely a more producer-oriented year for me. I definitely will have more, those credits out there. I want to do I want to get more visual this year, just get out these visual ideas that I have, and just do more things, even stuff outside the music, because I'm a writer first before anything, so just different things like that.
Definitely. All right. want to appreciate the both of you for pulling up. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
excited for everything you guys got going on. Wish you all the best, man. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, man.
Thank you.
For sure.